What's up, biz, everybody? It's your boy Vaker Maker, aka Densley, and I'm here to give you some true shit. Has Tifa Lockhart become a sex symbol? And if she has, is that necessarily a bad thing? Now, depending on who you are, those questions will vary. First off, what does it even mean to become a sex symbol? Well, if you Google the definition of it, it states a person widely known for their sexual attractiveness. And if you search up who exactly is the first video game sex symbol, it'll say Lara Croft from the Tomb Raider franchise. She is often considered one of the earliest examples for the male gaze in video games. Other examples include Chun-Li from Street Fighter and Tifa Lockhart from Final Fantasy VII. Female characters who have been created in the intention of fighting but have been overly sexualized without reason. So in terms of personality, none of these characters seem to fit the same trope of a character who is designed to be sexy or sexual by nature. Like for example, Betty Boop, Poison Ivy from the Batman franchise, Jessica Rabbit from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Lola Bunny from Space Jam, or hell, Boa Hancock from One Piece. Unlike those characters, Tifa, Chun-Li, and Lara Croft are fighting/adventurous characters who just so happen to also be sexy. It was due to their physical features are what made them sex icons. With Chun-Li, it was her thunder thighs. As for Lara and Tifa, well, yeah, anyone with eyes can figure that out. They do, however, fit the trope of a vixen. A vixen is a strong-willed and fiercely independent character who is not afraid to assert herself and take charge of situations. She is also quite protective of those she cares about and will go to great lengths to defend them. But again, the character whom will be the main focus of this video is Tifa Lockhart.
Now all that leaves is for Tifa, Aerith, and I to plant the bomb.
No, Tifa plants the bomb while you two cover my ass.
Please, someone finally will.
What was that?
Let's go, team!
Now, when you look at Tifa's design, specifically her character concept art designed by TETSUYA NOMURA back in 1997, you probably would think she's very similar to a seductive character like Jessica Rabbit, but that's exactly the brilliance behind not just Tifa's character design, but Aerith's as well. You see, just like a lot of people assume Aerith is the opposite of who she really is due to her appearance, the same goes for Tifa. Tifa's attire was designed to give her freedom of movement due to her affinity to weaponless fighting. Her miniskirt was noted as being quite short to give her a considerable degree of exposure. Nomura initially could not decide between pants or a miniskirt, so he passed sketches around the office, with the majority preferring the miniskirt. It was kept as a staple for her alternative costumes in later entries.
Firstly, she's a bartender. She works at Seventh Heaven serving food and drink to customers. Secondly, she's a martial artist. Trained during her youth by a legendary warrior named Zangan, Tifa has mastered a wide array of fighting moves. What I like about Tifa's appearance is how these two factors are incorporated into her design. Let's start with the bartender aspect. She's wearing long black sleeves matched together with a short black miniskirt that is being held up by suspenders. Her hair is styled to one side, allowing a teardrop earring to display clearly without obstruction. Straight away, these elements give off a hostess vibe. The sleeves and earring offer a sense of class to the appearance, while the skirt and suspenders cater to the more sultry and sexy side of the outfit. The overall image is to attract attention, and so a large amount of skin is being shown. With her hair being long and dark, coupling together with warm reddish brown eyes and a gentle smile, Tifa's alert feels enigmatically inviting. It's precisely the aura that you'd want to emit to attract people towards you. Then we have her martial artist aspect. Deep red gloves are worn on her hands, being paired together with heavy-duty boots of the same colour. The padding clearly shows us that these items are designed to hit things while protecting the user, so she's a combatant. Her long hair is tied at the end with a similar deep red hairband, keeping the strands collected and out of her way. The left boot and elbow have studded armour plating, offering further aid during battle. And lastly, she wears a plain white tank top that keeps most of her upper body unrestrained, allowing her to move freely. These elements all clearly indicate that this character would kick your ass if required. Bringing these two styles together, you suddenly have a very unique look for one of your leading female protagonists. A beat-em-up bartender, a brawling bar hostess. She mixes drinks and saves lives. Tifa's design has a calm balance between attraction and profession. It's attractive without slutty, it's combat orientated without covering her in traditional martial arts garb, and both sides are in harmony across her appearance.
For remake, Tifa was designed with an Eastern styled look as opposed to Aerith's Western styled look. The developers wanted Tifa to have an athletic body type. The ethics department at Square Enix told the developers to tighten her chest as not to get unnatural doing all the intense action. Thus, she was given black underwear and a fitted tank top, though Tifa's body silhouette did not change from the original design. The team aimed to improve visual details, giving her an athletic body type with visually defined abdominal muscles. Her costume was designed to be realistic visually, taking real designs of clothes and accessories for reference. Her suspenders were inspired by military suspenders, while her gloves were inspired by those used for riding bikes and fighting. NOMURA made the modeling team revise Tifa's model through trial and error until it was perfect. So while we're on the topic of Tifa's physical features, I guess now's the time to finally bring up the most common topic when it comes to Tifa's design: her boobs. It's also the part of her design that gets exaggerated so much that there have been debate made in favor, for, or against her character. Certain feminists believing her boobs represent how video games see women as nothing but sex objects, while others have argued otherwise.
Tifa has big boobs because she is the mom of the team. Breasts are a secondary sex characteristic that is typically associated with women, and big breasts in particular have been typically associated with fertility, with womanhood, and especially with motherhood, with nurturing, with caregiving. And as we've already discussed, a lot of Tifa's story is about how she grows through a nurturing relationship with Cloud. As she helps him piece together his identity, she also comes into her own as a leader and a caretaker of the team. She's a surrogate mother to Marlene, who's Barrett's daughter. She's a surrogate sister to characters like Aerith, and to a lesser degree Yuffie, who doesn't get to have that many interactions with her. And to Cloud, she's alternately a love interest and a link to his childhood, a link to his innocence and his vulnerability. It is her kindness, empathy, and nurturing spirit that puts Cloud back together in the end, that restores him to some of that lost innocence, that restores him to the person that he was meant to be, and in that sense she takes on a somewhat motherly role towards him. She also tends to be the person who's pushing Cloud to do things like to join Avalanche, to be the leader of the group, to go after Sephiroth, and she's always there kind of encouraging and cheering him on, again taking on that nurturing, encouraging role of the mother. Yeah, I think the big boobs are pretty much being used in one of their most basic connotations, i.e. womanhood, motherhood, caring, nurturing, etc., etc.
So when we finally got revealed on how her character would look in FF7 Remake, it shouldn't really have been a surprise that there were gonna be some discourse involving her boobs. Even prior to her reveal in Remake, people were arguing with one another on whether Tifa should still be well endowed or not. While yes, the big reveal of Tifa in the FF7 Remake at E3 2019 did indeed receive mostly positive responses from fans and critics alike, there were some who weren't so happy with Tifa's remake design at the time. Most of the complaint was focused on her breast being quote-unquote nerfed, or in other words, small, or at least smaller than before. Some of those same people were accusing Square of simply pandering to the SJWs by unnecessarily censoring Tifa. Now, if I'm being perfectly honest here, I thought the whole controversy was stupid, and keep in mind the fact that at the time, I didn't really even have any real attachment to Tifa or any of the other characters for that matter. So I wasn't biased for feeling that way. And funny enough, I still feel that way today. The fact that people were bitching about something so shallow as the size of a video game character's breast seems so ridiculous to me, and I still feel that way. Anyways, to add more reasons as to why this whole thing is ridiculous, people are comparing her boobs in Remake to her boobs in those CG cutscenes in the 1997 game, where the graphics were still trying to develop human characters and look less like Lego blocks. And when you compare her model in those cutscenes to how she really looks like in the concept art drawn by NOMURA, you'll notice that her breasts, even back then, don't look nearly as huge as they did in those CG cutscenes, in those FMV. Besides, it's not like her boobs in Remake aren't big anyway. This version of Tifa has a black sports bra underneath her crop top, which helps support her. And those who have actually played Remake and seen her in other outfits that don't have her wearing the sports bra know for a fact that she ain't rocking no A cup or A or B cups. If her knockers are nerfed, then Hojo is one handsome looking and pure-hearted son of a bitch.
But even if you think that's kind of a silly, wonky reading and you prefer, like, she just wears a sports bra because that's the only practical thing to do when you're busty and you need to do backflips, the point I'm really trying to get at here is that if you played Final Fantasy VII, if you saw Tifa, traumatized, miserable Tifa whose house and whose village and whose family was burnt to death in front of her eyes, who was nearly killed by a soldier from an evil corporation who joined a group of eco-terrorists in order to try desperately to save the planet from its inevitable demise, who picks up the pieces when the protagonist falls and then eventually puts together the pieces of the protagonist so he can be a whole person again, whose empathy, kindness, nurturing, and caring is a central pivot around which the entire narrative of Final Fantasy VII ultimately revolves. If you played through that entire story, if you looked at that character's character arc, and the only thing you somehow managed to take away from that is the big anime titty, and you think that is the most important part of the character, the part that they absolutely cannot change, or the whole remake is ruined, then allow me to suggest that you have never actually played Final Fantasy VII. You've sat through it, but you weren't paying any attention. So, if you're out there and you're really upset about Tifa's tits looking slightly smaller in the updated remake, my suggestion to you is this. Go play Final Fantasy VII, go play it, and actually pay attention to it this time. Actually try to engage with the story as a work of art, not just as a piece of fan service.
Tifa's boobs getting nerfed had become such a hot topic that YouTube disabled the autocomplete for Tifa Lockhart. You know how when you're on YouTube or Google and you're typing something in the search section and it predicts the rest of the word you're typing? Well, the term for that is autocomplete. And without any explanation, the autocomplete was off for Tifa, and it only happened specifically after the Tifa remake design was revealed back at E3 that year. And I know it wasn't the case prior to that. It was like that for a long time, and it was just late last year when the autocomplete for Tifa's name came back. And of course, once the remake had finally made it to PC, the modding community went crazy and started making a shit ton of Tifa mods. And surprise, surprise, the majority of them had Tifa with gigantic titties, ranging from E cups to F cups to even G cups, basically making her breast a lot larger than what they already are in the vanilla version of the game, which definitely pleased a lot of pervs.
This looks like a pretty good spot to activate some explosions.
All right, Tifa, set the timer and plant the bomb. Then we bounce like your boobies.
I'll have you know my boobs are firm as hell. Ask Cloud. He bruised his fist punching them once.
I did. It felt like wet sand in a balloon.
Well, I was just trying to compliment you.
You think I don't know how much of a goddamn national treasure my girls are? Ever since the Shintranet was invented, I've been ranked number 3 on badbarbitches.biz, okay?
You own that bronze medal, Tifa.
At least I won something.
It's very easy to see why she became a childhood crush for a lot of boys who grew up on the game. Because of all of this, as well as a shit ton of raunchy fan art of her plastered all over the internet for years. It's also easy for someone to assume she's flirty and super confident. But no, that's not the case at all. In fact, while deceptively strong, Tifa is apathetic and emotionally shy. While identifying and responding to the feelings of others, Tifa does not express her feelings often. And when she does, she struggles doing so, while Aerith has no problem expressing her feelings and can be very blunt. Tifa has motherly qualities, acting as a support for others and keeping others around her optimistic. However, she's quite confident in her fighting abilities, and after seeing the shit she pulls off in this game, she's got every right to be. I actually prefer playing her over Cloud, to be honest. She's the only one among your party who actually uses her fist and feet to fight, and her attacks tend to hit the hardest. Tifa's a beast. Thanks to all her martial arts attack and abilities, she's the most fun to play with, and that's why I got it set up to immediately play as her whenever she's in my party. It's interesting to note that while Aerith is the one who needs a lot of physical support, Tifa's the one who really needs emotional support, as she tends to be unsure of herself when it comes to making some really hard decisions, which I myself can totally relate to. But when it comes to the people she cares about, she never hesitates doing all she can to help and protect them. I think it's safe to say that even the developers of Square are very aware of the thirsty gamers there are for Tifa. In fact, the 2020 remake does, on multiple occasions, have characters mention how beautiful Tifa is, but yet we still see so many kick-ass moments involving her. They even went so far to give us 3 possible outfits for Tifa to wear during the wall market section of the game, and all 3 outfits looked great on her, yet remained tasteful. Yes, they did the same for Cloud and Aerith, but hey, did either one of them had scenes like this or this? In Chapter 3 of Remake, there are tons of NPCs that simps for Tifa, and a lot of them probably simply simp for her looks. However, I find it interesting that earlier in the chapter, when we're playing as Cloud, trying to enter the factory that has all the Gorger and lesser Drake enemies, when you're trying to get in there solo, the dude guarding the factory won't let you through the door, claiming it's too dangerous for civilians to enter. Yet, when we have Tifa in our party, he's all for it, as if he's well aware of how capable of a fighter Tifa is. And that's not the only time this has happened either. It seems like to me that while Tifa certainly has dudes in the slums of Sector 7 that see her simply as eye candy or catcall her there are those who do respect her for her fighting capabilities and probably do like her for both her looks and strength. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if she's had to straighten some dudes out while she's working at Seventh Heaven. She's definitely the most sought after girl in that sector. Sorry, Jesse. So I'm just gonna be very transparent with you guys. Like so many other teenage boys with raging hormones, I've come across my fair share of adult content during my teenage years. And yes, among them did indeed involve Tifa. So aside from Kingdom Hearts 2 and the Final Fantasy VII sequel, Advent Children, this was indeed my first exposure to Tifa. I'm sure plenty of you guys are familiar with this image right here. Don't even deny it. It's pretty much become infamous on the web. But you want to know what has become even more infamous? This image right here. So, not too long after the remake came out in 2020, as Tifa's popularity grew to new heights, so did the lewdness involving her. Tons more not safe for work fan art and videos of Tifa were uploaded on various adult sites. Well, 2 years ago, in this very same month, there was an quote-unquote unfortunate interruption during an Italian government meeting where a Tifa porn was played during the Zoom call. Italian lawmakers were gathering for a discussion of data transparency and political decision making. Got more than what they bargained for when someone started playing a CGI video of Tifa Lockhart having sex in the middle of the digital proceedings. The hentai went live just as the Zoom call was introducing this person, one of 2021's Nobel Prize winners in physics. What ensued was the longest 30 seconds anyone present had ever experienced. Ever since then, tons more of not safe for work Tifa memes have surfaced all over the web, referencing the situation. And I just so happen to own a fan art of Tifa carrying the Italian flag. Some of you who have come to my channel have probably already figured out that I'm a huge Tifa fan. I've been a fan of her since FF7 Remake came out in 2020. And here we are 4 years later, and we're only a couple weeks away from Part 2, otherwise known as FF7 Rebirth. Within these 4 years, I've started collecting figures, statues, fan art, and posters of the character. I've even went so far to even made Tifa related content on here. In fact, my highest viewed video is Tifa related. Now, last year I had made a video titled "Tifa is overrated and here's why," and posted it on April 1st. It was a lot of fun, and yes, I do plan on making a part 2 to that. Now, some people got in on the joke, and then there are those who didn't, and thought I was dead ass serious throughout the most of that video. And then there were some who knew I was joking, but yet agreed with every distasteful thing I said about Tifa in that video, which didn't really surprise me that much, because at that point, I've already become aware that even though there are tons of Tifa simps out there, there are plenty of Tifa haters as well. And in one of my most recent Tifa vids, I featured arguably the most wild, the most lewd Tifa statue that's ever been created, which was made by Spring Palace Studio. In one of the comments, it said, "I can't play Final Fantasy and see Tifa the same way anymore. She's always in the news for this." And that comment is a big part of the reason why I'm even making this video in the first place, or at least inspired me to make this video. To be clear, it's one of the reasons, not the only reason. So what that person is referring to is the fact that this isn't the only Tifa statue of this nature. There's been tons of fan-made statues of Tifa that are very fan servicey. Among them being the statues that featured Tifa doing the Jacko pose. And with the whole situation involving the Tifa sex doll, look, I'm not too crazy with the idea that these dolls were made with the intention of people pleasuring themselves with, but as someone who enjoys art, and technically this was a form of art regardless of however you feel about it, I gotta admire how realistic it looked. It's like she literally came straight out of the FF7 Remake video game. And I know that there are some people out there who would like to point fingers and blame content creators like me, saying we're part of the problem for making these videos which feature these stuff. And to that I say, look, I'm a Tifa fan. I'm a Tifa fan, but I'm also a fan of art. What people choose to do with these statues/figures are their business. I myself might not necessarily approve of every Tifa statue or figure that's been released to the public, but I'm gonna talk about it or at least give my 2 cents on the matter, regardless of whether or not I like the statue or /figure or not. And I know that there are those who might be interested in them, even if I'm not. Again, what they choose to do once they purchase them is totally their business. I myself happen to collect tons, like I said before, I collect tons of Tifa statues, some of which do have cast-off features. Cast off means that the figure contains removable parts, and when these parts are removed, the figure becomes not safe for work / capable of fully bodily nudity, top or bottom. Like I said, a lot of the Tifa statues I do own have these features, but I don't purchase them for that, nor is that feature even of interest to me. In fact, I simply display my Tifa statues the standard way as opposed to the not safe for work way. I don't buy statues or figures to jerk off to them. Besides, there are websites for that, you know. And now, when it comes to Tifa fan art, I'll be honest, I don't mind not safe for work fan art. Though most of the fan art I have at home are safe for work. I'm not the type of person to be disgusted when seeing anything lewd, and that's mainly due to the fact that I myself am a pervert. That's one of the reasons why I don't really mind the existence of lewd statues. Now, with that said, I'm not going to go out of my way to spend money on said lewd statues, especially when it doesn't fit said character it's supposedly based on. Now see that? Notice how we've circled back to the main topic of the video, the sexualization of Tifa Lockhart. So another reason why I made this video was due to some other comments I've seen online. The first one came from a question on a Game Facts blog, which is Tifa such a memorable character solely because of her sex appeal? Tiebreaker. It's no secret that she's far more sexualized than most other Final Fantasy characters. She's even been cosplayed by porn stars. That doesn't erase the fact that there's a lot more to Tifa's character, though. Just that some people are not able or can't be bothered to see past the sex appeal. Exactly. If all there was to Tifa was just her looks, then sure, she'd be popular, I guess, but I don't think she'd be looked at in such a high regard as she has been. Like I mentioned earlier, there are legit reasons for people to like Tifa's character besides how hot she looks. Hell, I've barely even mentioned how important her role is in the FF7 story, and boy is it important. In fact, she played a major part in repairing Cloud, the main character's mind, in one of the most memorable moments in the PS1 game. If she was simply a character like Krillin's ex-girlfriend Marin in Dragon Ball Z, all fan service and no substance, then sure, she'd definitely still be popular. But like I said, it helps that she's such a well-written character to boot. What? Is that even something to argue? With the misogynistic way she's dressed? This shouldn't even be a question. It's not even a question to bring up the local dress code. She's barely wearing anything, which they realized kinda with Advent Children. Again, go on GG Valentine's video talking about Tifa's outfit in both the OG FF7 and the remake. He does a great job explaining why Tifa's main attire works and it's not misogynistic like this person is claiming. Anyone denying that her quote-unquote sex appeal design isn't a huge major contributing factor to her popularity is delusional. Unfortunately, a part of Tifa's popularity is due to her boob size. Some just look at her as a sex object. So no one's denying the fact that her sex appeal has played a big part in her popularity. However, there are others like me who appreciate the character for much more than that. Her personality, her story, and combat abilities are what intrigued me about the character. That's why I love collecting figurines and fan art of her so much. For me, her physical appearance is just a bonus. Yes, anyone saying no despite what they personally think is kidding themselves. Most people only remember Tifa because of her tits. Her story arc is also good and all, but if she wasn't designed the way she is, she's less memorable than someone like Yuna. All right, trying not to sound like a broken record. Yeah, Tifa's popular because of her boobs. You want to know something else? She's popular for her insane fighting abilities, often considered to have the best attacks in FF7. She's popular for her beautiful theme song. In fact, articles like the Gamer ranked her theme song number 5 on their 10 best character themes from the Final Fantasy series list. There's even a well-detailed video on YouTube explaining why people love her theme song so damn much. So my point is that there are multiple reasons as to why Tifa is popular. There are loads of girls in video games and anime with huge knockers that aren't nearly as popular as her. Now here's a topic from someone on Reddit. How do you feel about the sexualization of Tifa from fans? This isn't condemning Rule 34 or the many other pornographic outlets out there. I'd be a hypocrite if it was. Popular characters get porn. This is a known fact. But since a certain poll revealed how depictions of Tifa tend to top these charts, at least in the West, it got me wondering how the other people feel about it and whether it's gone too far or not. On one hand, I've always believed that it isn't all just fueled by her design. There are many other characters, including Final Fantasy characters, that are more curvaceous and skippier dressed. Lulu is basically Jessica Rabbit as a black mage, but they don't get even a quarter of amount of fan appreciation Tifa gets. I think a good amount of it is fueled by legitimately adoring the character beyond her physical traits, which would also explain some of the other characters that top that poll, for better or for worse. But there's also the non-pornographic stuff where fans get a bit weird. There's a lot of fan art out there that, while technically safe for work, still can't resist the urge to balloon her chest. Some of them citing that they took the FMV as reference, which is honestly the worst official depiction of the character, or flash her panties. Then there was the whole uproar over how she was quote-unquote nerfed for remake, which couldn't have been farther from the truth. The whole Italy thing arguably was more amusing as a meme, though that also spiraled into more not safe for work material. The one thing I'm really glad about is how Square hasn't really pandered to the horny fan base. Yes, Tifa is constantly plastered in the marketing and even the title screen of Ever Crisis, but none of it has her jutting her chest out or doing any out of character seductive poses. Compare that to Capcom giving in to Jury's feet-crazed fan base, or how Lara Croft was officially marketed for the entirety of the 90s. There was actually a Sony ad that talked about how they had content as stuffed as Lara Croft's bra. Still, I'm wondering how other people feel about this. Tifa is legitimately one of my favorite characters, and as objectively attractive as she is, I do also hate to think that her legacy will be remembered more as a sex symbol in the same vein as, say, Mei from King of Fighters. No offense to the Mei fans, but this is a very much a character you can point out as an example of sex appeal first, second, and third. Now, here are some responses to the topic. Tifa's appeal goes beyond the physical. Are her physical features highlighted? Yes. But is it the rest of her character that carries that image? She is by far the most appealing female character in Final Fantasy to the majority of the fan base. Are there people who prefer others over her? Of course. But if you were to line up every single female character in the series, she'd get the most votes, despite having really good competition. And then this next one says, yeah, it's not just her looks, but her badassery and how she's always there for Cloud. Plus, there's her cool factor. While Ares is sort of childlike and innocent, Tifa has kind of an edge. Also, there's something undeniably sexy about a hot bartender / resistance fighter. And now here's the last response. I've always hated it. Her character is so far from being hentai that people not knowing the series gets the wrong idea. Plus, being a female gamer while growing up, it seemed the only ones were always over-sexualized. Tifa was my favorite and will always be my favorite heroine. And yet, 90% of her marketing are for creepy guys. 1 out of 10 figures of her are X-rated, and her art or wall scrolls are ridiculous. I'm so happy the official designs from the remake make her more realistic. Fine if you get off to animated cartoons, but it's a bit embarrassing and makes the genre / game look bad. I want respect for my from my favorite character, and the ability to have stuff of hers out without looking like I'm into anime porn. Has Tifa been over-sexualized by the developers of Square Enix and the company itself? No, I don't think so at all. As I mentioned before, the way she was designed worked very well in my opinion. And while yes, she was designed to be a very attractive looking character, she isn't necessarily defined by that, nor does the FF7 story treat her like a sex object. Now, has she been overly sexualized by the fandom? Hell's freaking yeah. Every lewd video, drawing, or figure / statue you've come across that's related to Tifa was all fan made. It wasn't officially made by Square Enix, or nor were they approved. Swear has nothing to do with the Italian Senate situation. They didn't approve of any of any Tifa sex dolls, nor did they approve of any naked, though well-detailed fan art of Tifa, nor did they approve of any statues of Tifa doing the Jacko pose. These were all done by fans. So I can definitely sympathize with this comment right here. So whether it was intended to be the case or not, Tifa has indeed become a sex symbol. Now, is that necessarily a bad thing? I'll let you guys be the judge for that yourselves. I will say, however, that I do understand why there are those who do not like the very existence of these lewd Tifa stuff that's been plastered online. Tifa herself is not a lewd character. So to some people, seeing fan art or statues of Tifa in these type of positions feel off, and I agree. And I understand why some would feel like these do a disservice to the character. As much of a degenerate as I am, I do think that that third-party studios like Spring Palace Studio might have overdid it with their Tifa statues. With that said, I don't get upset or bothered by them. So going back to that YouTube comment from earlier, I can't play Final Fantasy and see Tifa the same way anymore. She's always in the news for this. Here's my response to it, and the main point I wanted to get across when making this video. I can, because here's the thing. Tifa's not the only one this has happened to, and she certainly won't be the last either. Nor is this even the first time this has happened. It'll never stop. I've learned a long time ago to separate the fan art / fan fiction from the real actual shit. I know Tifa herself, despite what her appearance might suggest, it is nothing like what she's been, how she's been depicted by these lewd stuff you see online. Again, Tifa has been seen as a sex symbol for decades since her first appearance since 1997. And yet, like I said, her character is not like that at all. I was aware of this prior to when the remake came out, and whenever I do play the remake, I don't see Tifa in this light at all, because while yes, I do find her extremely attractive, I know she's so much more than that. She's extremely fun to play as when fighting. She's extremely powerful fighter, and she's an extremely well-written character. Again, Tifa's not the only female character to be overly sexualized by the internet, and similar to those characters, I can separate what's canon and what's something made by some degenerate. You can choose to like or dislike these lewd Tifa statues as you please, but I don't see these as tarnishing Tifa's legacy, really. If this was officially made and licensed by Square Enix, then sure, that would be something, but it's not. No matter what lewd figure or fan art of Tifa I see on the internet, that's not gonna stop me from seeing her or the rest of the Final Fantasy characters the way they were intended to be seen, or how I see them, and it shouldn't for you either. But hey, I get not everyone works the same way, I guess. I understand how being commonly exposed to stuff like this can affect someone's perspective on something. We just need to remind ourselves why we like the characters in the first place. And while stuff like this exists, I see it as its own thing. At the end of the day, sex sells, regardless of what character you're talking about. For this particular situation, it just so happens to be Tifa Lockhart. But yeah, Tifa's hot. She's fucking hot. But she's also a badass martial artist fighter that has been modded so many times into Tekken 7, and whom a lot of people for years now have been petitioning to be included as a guest character for the next Tekken game. In fact, even the producer of Tekken 8 had to address the fans' demand. Will Tifa finally be included into a Tekken game as a DLC character? Only time will tell. Now, comment below and let me know what you guys think. What is your opinion on the whole sexualization of Tifa Lockhart? Do you agree with any of the points I made in this video, or do you disagree with them? Do you think Tifa Lockhart has become a sex symbol? And if so, do you think that's a bad thing? What does becoming a sex symbol mean to you? What does Tifa the character mean to you? Were you one of those people complaining about Tifa's knockers being quote-unquote nerfed? Does the size of Tifa's melons even matter to you? And most importantly, does it matter to you if Tifa is included into Tekken 8 or not? Like I said, comment below and let me know what you now, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like these. Share this with fellow Tifa fanatics or anyone who you think would be interested in seeing this video and being a part of the conversation. And most importantly, hit the notification bell if you want to be notified for whenever I do post these videos. Now, with that said, stay beast and Tifa for Tekken 8.